Hi, my name is Rachel Wilson, and I'm going to be doing my presentation today over Google Tools in the classroom. Quickly, our objectives for this presentation are to talk about the background and the origins of Google, and then we're going to answer some questions like what are Google Tools and how are they used in classrooms, and then even more specifically, how are they used in content areas. So we can't really talk about the history of about Google Tools without diving a little bit into the history of Google. Most of us are familiar with Google as a search engine. We use it as a verb sometimes. Let me Google that, we'll say. But where did it come from and how did it start? So Google was founded in 1998 by a couple of graduate students at Stanford named Sergey Brin and Larry Page. And what they were wanting to do was develop a new technology that basically ranked websites by the number of links that they offered. This was completely different from how search engines offered websites. When you type something into the search engine, it would just give you a random list. And so this was very different. It actually ranked them. And they named it Backrub. So it did begin as an online search engine, search firm. And really, today, more than 70% of searches worldwide are conducted using Google. So it is very, very widely used. Google offers over 50 different services now. It's much, much more than a search engine, and that includes everything from email, translation services, to maps even. So for this purpose, we're going to talk about what is Google Tools. And Google Tools is a part of Google Apps. And the Google Apps, the great thing about Google Apps is that they are customizable to different industries. And that includes things like government, business, education, and then the everyday user, which would be you and I. And so they customize the apps that they are offered to the needs of these different industries. Today, for our purposes, we're going to talk mostly about Google for Education. The great thing about Google for Education is it's free. These are free tools that are available to teachers and students, and it includes things like Google Classroom and Google Scholar, Google Cultural Institute, Google Search for Education, and Google Maps for Education. So why should we use Google Tools? Well, the number one feature that I like about Google Tools is that you can share. A teacher can share with her students. Students can share within each other projects, presentations. You can share your Google Docs, your Google Slides, your Google Forms. And the great thing is that within sharing, they are private, they are secure. So as a teacher, you can share something with just a student, or they can share it just back with you, say a journal, for example, that they would want to maybe keep private. It's better for the environment because it just reduces the use of paper in the classroom, and additionally, it has a lot of really neat IT features. So I want to show a very, very short video that talks about Google Tools in the classroom and how it's being used today. Okay, so that was just a quick video that to talk about some ways that teachers are using Google tools in their classroom. So what is Google for Education? It's basically a suite of tools, and that's going to include a lot of very different tools. It's going to include Google Classroom, which they mentioned, Google Drive, Gmail, Calendar, Vault. Vault is just some excess storage. It's great because it's free and it's not something that you have to download. It's going to include docs, sheets, forms, and slides. It's going to include Google Hangout, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But Google Hangout is very similar to FaceTime. You can have up to 10 people going on Google Hangout at a time. So it's a great way for students to collaborate remotely. And then Google Sites, which is for blogs. So Google Classroom, the classroom of the future. Well, Google Classroom is an online classroom, and it connects teachers and students. It allows, like we've talked about earlier, teachers and students to share information, to share documents, to share presentations, and even assessments. So it encourages communication, and it really just simplifies things because it's all located in one forum. Here's a quick video.
Education because that shows me that you could. So each object have their own values without values. At my house, I have 6 sisters and 3 brothers. Having a sibling is quite fun, but it's not peaceful. When I feel my homework, I go into Google Classroom. The first thing my teacher's icon pop up. If I don't understand something, I could ask him. To wait till my next lesson. I take the bus home. On my phone, if I'm anywhere, I'm able to access Google Classroom. You don't have to waste time writing assignments, wasting paper, waste my time. I find it useful to have crosswords and look. I can see what they do mistake somewhere I mistake, so maybe somebody corrected. Ahora is subjective. I feel like I have made this breakthrough. Just click on the link and your document will become immediately relevant and those beautiful thoughts come out. I want to become a software developer. I would like to make qualifications business because they help people out and stand up. I want to be doing my whole entire teaching career.
Okay, so I felt like that video gave a really good overview of what Google Classroom actually is. It calls it a mission control, and I think that's very, very appropriate. And some of the things you're going to find in Google Classroom are Google Scholar, which is the search engine. And it's limited to scholarly literature and publishing like you would find, say, in a college library, for example. So really limits and is part of that safety and security feature for students. It limits their searching. Google Docs. This is just documents and assignments that you can share with teacher and between teachers and students and between students. And it really is a great way for teachers to give feedback and for students to collaborate on projects. And then Google Slides is used for presentations. Google Tools, more Google tools that can be used in every classroom. Google Hangouts, very much like FaceTime, except that you can have up to 10 people at a time working on it. And it's just a great way for students to connect outside of class and around the world with other students if needed. And Google Sites is just a free and easy way to create and share websites for teachers. Okay, so let's look specifically at how we would use Google tools in some subject areas. Math. Google Forms are great for using exit tickets, formal assessments. They provide immediate feedback, and Google Docs can provide assignments online. Google Tools for ELA. Google Docs can allow for students to keep a writing journal and for it to be read only by the teacher, again with that privacy feature. Google Scholar is that we've talked about. It's just a safe environment for students to do research. And Google Hangout, for ELA, it would be a way to maybe bring authors into the classroom from around the world. For science, Google Science Journal is a new app that provides simple experiments that can be performed using an app on your phone. That would be a really fun way to bring Google into your classroom. And then Google Docs, again, we could do a science journal to record science experiments that could be shared between students or between student and teacher. Google Tools for Social Studies. So the Google Cultural Institute is an incredible website that just features art, architecture, heritage. They have information from over 1,200 museums all around the world, and you can take your students straight into being able to see these features. It allows them to just access things that just enrich their learning experience and things maybe they wouldn't have seen otherwise. And then it also provides a street view for a lot of landmarks, monuments, neat geographical wonders in the world. Okay, so quickly, a couple of websites that I found that just had a lot of information about Google. The first one is AliceKeeler.com, and Alice Keeler is a Google certified teacher. She has lots of tutorials, and she has a blog as well that just tell a lot of tips and tricks and ways to use Google very effectively in your classroom. If you don't follow her on Twitter, I would encourage you to. She's constantly posting some great ideas. The second website is teachthought.com, and it specifically it has lots of innovative ways to use technology in your classroom. This was just, I happened to screenshot this as 60 smart ways to use Google in your classroom. Again, TeachThought is on Twitter. If you don't follow them, I would encourage you to follow them on Twitter. They have great thoughts, great ideas for being innovative with technology. And then they have just a lot of really good ideas for how you could use Google very, very efficiently and effectively in your classroom. So my question now is, how will you Google in your classroom?